I was put into foster care when I was 8 years old. I was then taken out of foster care just after my 10th birthday. During that time, I was sexually abused. I was starved. I was running away all the time, going back to my mum to get food, just so that I could eat. I've had that many bad experiences with the care system. My mother has had bad experiences. My whole family has had really horrific experiences. But
How old were you when you went into care?
8.
8.
8 years old.
And what were the reasons why you were placed in care?
There were rumours around my mother not caring, neglecting us children and not feeding us, not clothing us, not bathing us. And there were reports stating that us kids were always running down the street with nothing on at all. But every time that, at that point, they were known as families SA. Every time that they would come out, we were fine. The house was clean, we were fed, we had food in the freezers, the fridges, the cupboards, everything. It was, I think, maybe 3 days after the last visit that my mother was told that we were going to be removed the next day. I was removed from school and my other siblings were removed from kindy. And then we were placed with a really nice girl at first. She was amazing. She fed us, she helped us out. I couldn't sleep that night, so she let me stay up and talk with her about what's going on, and that's what I did.
So all the kids were in the same placement?
Yes, me and my 3 other siblings. We were in the same placement at first. I was removed from that placement with them, as the carers in that placement could not handle the fact that I didn't want to, be there. I wanted to be home with my mother. So I was removed from that placement and put into a TA house, which is where it's with actual biological siblings and then yourself. And I was placed with 2 siblings, and I was there for about a year, maybe a year and a half. And then I decided that I had had enough of being sexually assaulted and starved and abused all the time.
While in that particular placement
yes,
you're talking about? Yeah.
That I had actually gone to Families SA and told them that all I wanted to do was go back home. And that's when they made the decision to let me go home. And I ended up going home. A few years down the track, they got involved again with my mother's ex-husband, and they closed the case on him pretty quickly because they didn't have enough proof or evidence on what was being said. And then last year they became involved with my mother and her partner, and then a couple months after they were involved with my mother and her partner, they became involved with me, with my unborn child. And they've been involved ever since.
So basically you've had the department involved in your life since the age of 3?
Yes.
Basically. And what were the concerns about you and the unborn child? So did they have a conversation with you prior to the child being born?
No, they did not at that point. They just said that they were going to keep an eye on the situation, as my ex-partner had said that I was doing drugs, I was an alcoholic, I was not taking care of my unborn child. But that was all proven wrong when the toxicology screening came back on my now born daughter. When that came back, it came back negative. She had nothing in her system other than the normal stuff. And now I am on random drug and alcohol testing because they fear that I may be misusing substances to cope with my childhood trauma.
Why would they think that you're misusing substances to cope with your past?
Because back in 2017, I was 13 years old at that point. I was doing drugs, because my mother's ex-husband had sexually assaulted me. I didn't want to be around him. I didn't even want to know he existed.
Yeah.
So I started doing drugs with my friends. And I told them about that. And I said to him, I haven't done drugs since 2017. I've been trying to do my best to stay clean for my family, because I didn't want my family to see me the way I was at that point. And I've done everything to stay clean. I have told people so many times when they have offered me a joint or a bong, I've said, no, I can't do it. You can go ahead, that's your lives, but me personally, I don't want that. And they appreciate me not saying to them, no, look, don't do it, I'm here. I don't mind if people do it around me, it's just me not doing it. My first drug and alcohol testing came back negative, so they're not planning on doing much more of them, which is a very good thing, as I don't believe that it was necessary in the first place. I didn't even smoke marijuana throughout my pregnancy, and my pregnancy was very, very difficult.
So do they still believe that you're likely to still take drugs, given your past? Are they focusing on that at all?
No, not right now. They're just doing a couple more drug and alcohol tests just to clear their minds.
Yep.
But other than that, they're not worried about really anything else, other than my childhood trauma. They want me to get assessed to see whether my childhood trauma will have an effect on me raising my daughter.
Right. And so your daughter was taken off you how long after the birth?
6 days.
6 days after the birth. Can you talk to us a little bit about, I guess, your involvement with the department prior to that date, and then what it was like for you when that happened?
Prior to that, they were coming to my house before I gave birth, seeing how I was going, and in the reports then, they said that everything was fine. I was doing an amazing job. Even though my daughter wasn't born, they said I was doing great. I was doing everything I needed to be doing. And then when I went to the hospital, I had to be induced, and the department were already told about that before I had gone in to be induced, because it's just policy. And the day I gave birth, I got a phone call from the department stating that they will be coming in to see me on the Friday. So they came in on the Friday and they said, yes, you're doing amazing, but you cannot go back to your house. We would like you to go to a placement with your daughter. And I was like, yep, okay, I can go to this placement with my daughter. It's for my child. If I have to do that, I have to do that. And they said, yep, all right, we've got your placement booked. You'll be going in on the Tuesday. On the Tuesday, I got a phone call stating that the placement did not have any room and that I would be getting moved in on the Wednesday.
Did they explain to you, though, why you necessarily needed to have this placement?
Because my mum and her partner apparently had domestic violence in their relationship.
And you were living with them at
Yes,
the time?
and throughout the last 5 years, there has not been one single bit of domestic violence in the family. If there was domestic violence, my mother would have already left. My mother has children, and in her eyes, every child needs to be protected, no matter if they're hers or they're someone else's. They need to be protected no matter what. So if there was domestic violence in this house, my mother would have left, taken us kids and left.
So do you know why the department thought there was DV?
Because my ex-partner, whilst I was pregnant, we were staying at a hotel because I didn't want to be around my ex-partner because he was very abusive and toxic.
Yep.
And because we were staying at that hotel, my partner had traced my SIM card to where I was, which was how obsessive he was of me. And he actually rocked up, and all he said to me was, I need my stuff, like my clothes and that. So I went to go grab his clothes and everything. And he followed me upstairs to the hotel room, and he kicked me in the stomach whilst I was pregnant. I ended up in the Queen Elizabeth Hospital.
Oh, hell.
I made the police report, And because of that, my ex-partner then went on and put in the report that it wasn't him that did it. It was actually my mum's partner. And that's why they didn't want my daughter or me to come home, because...
So they thought that your mum's partner was violent because your ex-partner had put in a report stating that he was the one that physically assaulted you.
Yes.
Right, and even though you denied all of that, I'm assuming,
Yes, I did.
that the department then didn't believe you, clearly, because it seems like they believed your ex. Why did they believe your ex?
Because to them, they can't get a hold of my ex-partner's record without the Queensland Police consent.
All right.
If they had been able to get a hold of his record, I guarantee that I would have my daughter with me.
But why? But I'm curious as to why they just didn't believe you anyway.
My ex-partner, to a lot of people, he's a saint. He's very nice and kind when you first meet him. Even when you talk to him over the phone, he's really kind. He's got that angel voice, like he could never do anything wrong in the world. And with the way that the department is, they believe without evidence. And that's how they've been for a very long time.
But then there's his word, I guess, about what happened, and there's your word. But they're choosing not to believe you. They're wanting to believe him.
Yes.
And what? Do you know why they would choose to believe him over
I have
you?
no idea. I've even tried getting the police report, but in the police report, they said that I can't get it because it's still under criminal investigation. Which, when I found that out, I had actually told the department, if it was under criminal investigation and it was against my mum's partner, they would have already found my mum's partner. He lives in the house with us. They would know where he is.
Fair enough.
So if it's under criminal investigation, therefore, it means that it's not my mum's partner.
So the
Otherwise, they
criminal
would have
inve-
already closed it.
So I guess the criminal investigation is about the person who assaulted you,
Yes.
which you're saying is your ex,
Yes,
not your mum's partner.
that is correct.
So one would assume that the police are investigating your ex.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So you were pregnant. You were assaulted. You were in this motel room. And what happened? What happened after that? How long after that did you deliver the baby?
Would have been 4 months.
All right.
So I would have been about 5-6 months pregnant when I was assaulted. I gave birth on the 17th of March. And she was a beautiful, healthy little girl. Absolutely amazing. It was difficult. At first I was told just after I'd given birth that she might not make it because she had stopped breathing for 8 minutes and they couldn't get her breath back. But then they finally got her to breathe and I was ecstatic. I was so happy. I got to hold her. It was the happiest moment of my life. You know, I was told a few years back, I've got a 10% chance of having a child.
All right.
I wasn't even meant to have her. And I ended up having my miracle baby after 3 miscarriages beforehand. And it was like the best feeling in the world. I was so happy. When I first found out that I was pregnant, I told the boys to just move out my way. All I wanted to do was go say, "Mum, you got a grandbaby on the way," you know, and that's what I did. And Mum was so happy, and Mum's partner, he was ecstatic. He couldn't wait to have a grandbaby. He was just so happy and so joyful. And after I had her and I was told I couldn't go home, all I could think about in that hospital was, how am I supposed to help my daughter? How am I supposed to show her what a real family is and what real love is if I can't be around real family and real love? I've got to be isolated. And I explained to the department that my mental health is pretty bad at points, but the only way I get through it is because my mum's there. I can speak to my mum about anything. You know, she's like my mum, my older sister, everything put into one. She's my best friend. I could talk to her about every little thing. And leading up to her removal, I was promised on the Monday when they told me that I would be able to keep her and that they would not remove her from me whatsoever. But they still did. They removed her from me, and then
How long after that, though? How long after they told you that they wouldn't?
2
remove
days. Took
her?
them
So
2
at one
days.
point they told you that they wouldn't,
Yep.
and 2 days later they came back and told you they would.
Yep.
What
They
was
just
that?
took her.
What was that moment like for you?
It was horrible. All I could do, I stared at the window and all I could think is, why can't I just throw them out the window? I could keep my baby girl. I just wanted them gone. I just wanted my daughter to stay with me. I just wanted to be able to wake up all hours of the night. I wouldn't care what hour she needed a bottle or she needed to change or just cuddles even. I don't care about that. All I wanted was my girl. I didn't understand at that point. Because in my head, through my whole pregnancy, I was sitting there going, you know what, I'm gonna be a good mum. DCP won't have no reason to get involved with me. I'm a great mum, I know it, I can feel it. And the minute that you start pointing out that you're a great mum, they're not gonna get involved, that's when they decide to poke their heads in. But if you sit there and go, yeah, I know they're gonna get involved, that's when they're just like, oh, we've done our checks, you're fine. And I've noticed that a lot. Like, I've seen so many kids that are getting abused by their parents and the department ain't doing anything. There have been children that have died. There have been teenagers who have actually committed suicide in the system because the system is failing them. The system failed me, the system failed my mum, they failed my older sister, and now I'm worried that they're gonna fail my daughter. My daughter's 5 months old.
So where's it at the moment in relation to your daughter and access and the potential to get her returned?
Access is 1 day a week for an hour and a half. Next time we go to court, we find out what's going on. We've already had 2 reunification courts to see what we're doing wrong or what we're doing right to be able to get her back.
So it's in reunification court at the moment?
Yes.
Yep.
It's looking okay at the moment, but the thing is we're worried about DCPs bringing lies, which is all that they do, is constant lies after lies after lies after lies. They try saying that I don't change my daughter. They have to change her all the time after access. My daughter's unsettled after access. Most of the time after access, she's asleep because I put her to sleep before she goes.
Could she be unsettled because she's actually enjoyed that experience
Yes.
with you too?
Yes.
You know, and misses you maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I reckon it is because when we had access yesterday, it was, I said to her, you've got to go now. And she started crying. She automatically knew she's got to leave. And she started crying. She didn't want to leave. And I felt that. I felt that myself. I literally felt her heart breaking because she wanted to stay with mum and dad. She didn't want to run away. She didn't want to have to leave us again. I reckon, as a 5-month-old baby, a lot of people say, oh, they don't know much. They don't know anything. They're too young.
They have feelings.
They know a fair bit. They really do. They know a fair bit, you know, and the department say children don't remember anything up until after they turn 3. My main thing right now is the fact that my daughter has been placed with my mum's partner's ex-wife.
Your mum's partner's ex-wife.
Yes.
Right. How did that happen?
I don't know how it happened, but all I know is his ex-wife is horrible. She's absolutely horrible. A couple of years back, she actually came to our front door and started calling me names.
How did she get that? How did she get involved to the point whereby the department had her name?
So my partner, who I'm with now, he is adopted.
Not the partner of the child.
He is the father of the child.
Sorry, who's the father of the child?
My partner now.
Your partner now.
Yes,
Let's be clear about this.
he is the father of my daughter. And we only
but the
found that
person-
out
The person who assaulted you, though,
is my ex-partner.
not this person.
No.
Okay.
No.
Thank God we cleared that one.
But it's his dad who is my mum's partner. It's his adopted dad.
Is that Dr. Dad? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So he adopted my partner when my partner was a baby, because it was either that or my mum's partner's friend was
All right. So there
going
is
to
a,
terminate the
there
pregnancy.
is a family connection. That's the point, I guess.
Yes.
Even though it's the dad's ex-partner.
Yes.
Yep, got it.
He was sexually assaulted by one of her friends, and she knew about it. And my worry is, my 5-month-old daughter is with her. I don't want the same thing happening. If she could do that to someone who she called her son his whole life, what can she do to a 5-month-old baby?
Okay. So, can you tell me a couple of things I would like to know, and that is, what do you think the department could have done that would have been more helpful for you? So, given they've taken the child, but what do you think they could have done that would have been more helpful in order for you to...
I believe what they could have done is, instead of removal, they could have stepped in and said, right, we'll get you some help to help you. We're not going to remove her because they need to see that I'm a capable parent. They can't judge that on 6 days of me having her. 6 days, she's still a newborn. All she really does is eat, sleep, needs a nappy change, needs her clothes changed, blankets changed, cuddles. You know, that's all she really needs worth of parenting.
Did they do a parenting capacity assessment?
No, they haven't done one at all.
Do they plan to?
I think so. I'm just not sure when. But they could have stepped in and said, right, we're going to get you some help. We're going to see if we can get a counsellor on site with you 24/7, you know, just in case you need to have a breakdown in the middle of the night and you need someone to talk to, instead of going, right, we don't think that you're going to be able to handle this, we need to remove her. They could have stepped up and helped instead of making mental health worse. Mental health gets a lot harder, even if you are completely stable. Even if you have had the best life possible, and then your child gets removed, your mental health goes from
Spot on.
up here to way down.
It's a trauma, isn't it? It's just another trauma.
It is a hardcore trauma.
Do you think that they understand the traumas that you've experienced in your life, given that you were in care, you were sexually assaulted and abused while in care, and then you have a child removed from you and placed into care? Do you think the department understands any of that?
No, I personally do not, as a lot of the time they try to say that they understand the pain that we're going through. They try to say that they know what us parents who have had children removed with no evidence against us whatsoever. They try to say that they understand everything that we have gone through, we have to go through. But in reality, most of the department workers don't have children.
Who would be looking after the kinship care placement, do you know?
No, I don't. I haven't been told anything. I barely get told anything about my daughter. I get photo updates on Instagram and that's it. That's all I get. And it is difficult seeing her through a screen. I just want to see her like in front of me. You know, me having to wake up or wake her dad up like all hours of the night going, she needs a bottle, she needs a change, just do it, I'm tired, I've done it all this time, you know? And I can't do that, and it frustrates me because I'm up all hours of the night now waiting to hear her cry. And DCP don't understand how bad that affects my actual PTSD. It affects me so badly. I get really bad outbursts of anger and of rage.
Because it's just another layer on top of all the other layers, I guess, that you've got, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's like what they're trying to do is sabotage me. That's how I feel, because they tell me I need help with my mental health, my childhood trauma, all of my traumatic events, but they just cause more and more and more of them.
And from what you say, they don't seem to be offering anything for you to help you manage those things either.
No, they're not. They just tell me I need to find people. And I've looked everywhere, and every person that I actually find, they message the department, like email them and say, look, we've gotten this request from this person, is this okay with you? And then they just shut it down and say, no, not good enough. And so far, the only people that I have found is expressive therapy and NUNC. They are actually good for me, you know, expressive therapy.
You have regular sessions?
I have, my next expressive therapy session is next Monday.
All right.
Which is a good thing because I really need someone to talk to. My head is just full of all of this stuff that I can't get rid of, you know, and it's on DCP. And I already said that to them. I said, look, you want my childhood trauma gone, you want my mental health better, but it's on you. You caused me to be like this now. No one else did. Yous did that, and yous aren't even taking responsibility.
Good point.
They need to take responsibility for what they've done, for the children that have been killed in their care.